The Great Fire of London was a devastating event that took place in September 1666. It is remembered as one of the most significant disasters in British history, not only because of the destruction it caused, but also because of the way it changed the city of London forever. The fire began in a small bakery in Pudding Lane, owned by Thomas Farner. On the night of September 2nd, 1666, a small spark in the bakery ignited a fire that quickly spread to nearby buildings. In those days, most of the buildings in London were made of wood, and the streets were narrow. These conditions made it easy for the fire to jump from one building to another. London in 1666 was not the city we know today. It was much smaller, with about 80,000 residents, and the buildings were tightly packed together. Most of these buildings were made from timber, which burns very easily, and they were covered in tar, which catches fire quickly. The city's layout was a maze of narrow, winding streets, and there were no proper fire departments like the ones we have today. People relied on buckets of water, fire hooks to pull down the burning buildings, and leather fire squirts, which were not very effective. On that fateful night, a strong wind from the east blew the flames towards the heart of the city. The fire spread rapidly, and by the morning of September 3rd, it has grown out of control. The fire raged on for 4 days, consuming everything in its path. People tried to escape by fleeing into the Thames, or by moving to the open fields outside of the city. Unfortunately, many lost their homes and all their belongings. The fire destroyed much of the old medieval city of London. Over 13,000 homes were burned down, along with 87 parish churches, 44 company halls, and numerous other buildings, including the famous St. Paul's Cathedral, which had stood for hundreds of years. Thousands of people were left homeless and had to live in makeshift shelters in the fields of London. Despite the widespread destruction, the number of lives lost was surprisingly low. It was estimated that only 6 people died in the fire, though this number might not be accurate because the fire had easily consumed the bodies of the victims. Additionally, records were not as precise as they are today. Some historians also believe the true death toll could have been much higher. After the fire, there was much debate as to what had caused it. Some people blamed it on the foreigners, while some people thought it was a result of a deliberate plot. In reality, it was more likely to be an incident, starting from the small spark in the Thomas Farner's bakery. However, the event did lead to rising tensions in London, especially against French and Dutch immigrants who were unfairly blamed. The aftermath of the Great Fire of London led to significant changes in the city of London. The king at the time, Charles II, ordered that the city be rebuilt quickly. He appointed Sir Christopher Wren, and a famous architect, to help with the rebuilding efforts. Wren designed a new St. Paul's Cathedral, which still stands today as one of London's most famous landmarks. The new buildings were constructed with bricks and stones instead of wood to prevent another disaster like the Great Fire of London. Streets were wider, and many of the old narrow alleyways were removed. These changes helped to make London a safer place and reduce the risk of future fires. In addition to rebuilding, new regulations were put into place to ensure that the buildings were made fire-resistant materials. The Great Fire also led to the creation of the first insurance companies in England. Before the fire, there was no way for people to protect themselves financially against such disasters. After seeing the widespread destruction, many people realized that the importance of having insurance, and companies began offering fire insurance policies. The Fire of London also had a significant impact on the culture and economy of the city. The fire cleared out many of the old medieval parts of London, allowing for new, modern buildings to be constructed. This helped London transform into a more modern city with better infrastructure and more organized streets. The fire also contributed to the rise of insurance industries and changed the way people thought about urban planning and safety. The legacy of the Great Fire of London can still be seen today. The monument of the Great Fire of London, built between 1671 and 1677, stands near the spot where the fire began on Pudding Lane. It serves as a reminder of the disaster and resilience of the people of London who rebuilt the city from the ashes. Every year, tourists visit the site and learn about the events of 1666, ensuring that the story of the Great Fire of London continues to be told. In conclusion, the Great Fire of London was a tragic event that caused massive destruction and changed the course of city's history. While the fire was a disaster, it also led to many positive changes in London, such as better building regulations, the rise of fire insurance, and a modernization of the city. The fire serves as a reminder of the importance of safety and preparedness, of how a community can come together and rebuild after a tragedy. The Great Fire of London is not only a story of destruction, it is a story of resilience, innovation, and the great enduring spirit of a great city.